Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. I hope you guys had a blessed weekend. On LS talk to you guys what was on Thursday. So obviously it's been a few days since I last was live with you guys. Hopefully you guys had an incredible weekend. Let me make sure I got audio. All right, we're good to go. So we got a lot to get into today's show, though. Obviously, Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, that fight is now gone down. It is complete. I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on that fight, on Jake Paul, on AJ, and the entire card. Also, you had fight cards going down in Ghana. You had fight cards going down in the UK. You had fight cards going down all over the place. We'll be getting into all those fights throughout the duration of today's show. Also, I'll then be touching up on some boxing news that's come out, though. But before I go any further, as always, keep the chat active tonight. I will be addressing and answering each and every single question I see pop up in the chat today. So leave your thoughts and comments in the chat. I'll make sure to address them as comments will come up on the screen, and then we'll talk about it at that point in time. If you're tuning in on X or Facebook, make sure to hit that like button, the share button. I appreciate that. It helps out with the show a lot. And if you're tuning in on YouTube, smash that likes button. Also, there should be the hype button now available right there alongside underneath the show. Hit that hype button. I'd greatly appreciate that, as well as it helps out with the promotion of the show. So we've got lots to get into this week. Obviously, it's a big week as well. Happy or Merry early Christmas for you guys. Obviously, I know we got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. So to give you guys a quick preview of what's going down on this week's show, it's going to be a live show on today, obviously being Monday. And then I'll be back live on Friday because, well, the day after Christmas. But on Saturday, we have the massive Samurai card going down in Riyadh season. So we'll be breaking down and giving you guys a preview of all that. Also touching up on some boxing news on Friday's show. And then on next week, I have not decided 100% yet, but I'm pretty positive there will not be a show next week, as next week I'm going to be kind of taking a week off as I prepare for 2026, which there will be a lot of changes, all of which will be announced in the beginning of the new year. So stay tuned for all those details. But as always, listen, have a great show today. Keep the chat active. Give me your thoughts on all those things that I discussed. If you guys disagree, agree, whatever it is, let me know in the chat, and I'll make sure to break those comments down as I go throughout the duration of the show. But without a further ado, let's hop right into a fight recap of what went down on Friday night. So I'm sure everyone that's tuning into the show is well aware of what's happened now. Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, they obviously fought each other, and Jake Paul was knocked out in the 6th round. He ended up having a double broken jaw, which will mean for a very long recovery for the man as well. But I just want to get into this. We're going to kind of spend a lot of time on this fight, and it was interesting. You know, I will be honest with you guys. The fight went exactly as I told you it would go down on Thursday, also on Wednesday's show that I was on live on another show. And all I said was this: the fight will likely go down to the point where round 4 to 6, Anthony Joshua will knock out Jake Paul. Well, round 6 came along, and he knocked him out. And I want to just make it very clear in this regard. I'm not shocked at how it went down. Now, were there some moments I'll look back on and say it was a little bit concerning by AJ's part? Sure. But I always said this about Anthony Joshua. This was always going to be a fight that was not going to be competitive. Whether that was going to be Jake Paul or another man stepping in the ring, Anthony Joshua was always going to go out there and fight a man, which was going to be a quote-unquote tune-up fight. Something to get Anthony Joshua just some ring rust off of him, get back in the ring, and build up some endurance. I never expected him to knock him out in round 1 or 2 or 3. I thought he was always going to take some rounds and kind of work on some of the new skill sets with the Alexander Usyk camp. That is exactly what happened, so I'm not shocked at that. As for Jake Paul, now I will be honest, the man did run around. And I want to spend a couple seconds discussing this aspect, all right? When we talk about Jake Paul, this is a man who I do believe deserves some respect. Now, I get it. A lot of people are going to say, hey, the man made roughly $92 million. I would get punched by Anthony Joshua, go through 2 fractures of the jaw for $92 million. I get it. At the end of the day, though, this still is a man who stepped foot in the ring with Anthony Joshua. A former world champion at the heavyweight division, one of the top 10 heavyweights in all the world right now, who had a massive weight advantage, and he still went in there and fought Anthony Joshua. How could I sit up here and say I don't at least respect him? Because I feel like for those people that still want to go after Jake Paul, you're moving the goalpost now. We always said, is Jake Paul ever going to go fight a legitimate fighter? Well, Anthony Joshua is that, and he went out there and he actually stepped foot in the ring and did it. So let's stop moving the goalpost. Jake Paul did exactly what you wanted him to do and fight a legitimate fighter. Now, was it a great fight? Absolutely not. Did he run around the ring for the entirety of that fight? Yes, but at the same time, have we not seen countless boxers in boxing this year also go around running? Let's think about it. William School, he ran around Canelo Alvarez. Devin Haney, he ran around quite a bit. Ryan Garcia didn't do jack against Rolly Romero, and so on and so forth. Let's not act like Jake Paul is the first man to do this, and let's be honest. If anybody had an excuse to do the running around formula, it would have been Jake Paul. So I also want to make sure to make that very clear in that regard. But Jake Paul went out there and he fought a heavyweight, a legitimate fighter. I will give him props for that. It was not a competitive fight, nor did anybody ever expect it to be competitive. No, he did not go out there and show he was some great fighter or anything along those lines. But what he did show is say, hey, you know what? I will step foot in the ring with a legitimate fighter, and I'll push out there and see what I can do. And so for that reason, I'm going to give props to him. At the same time, for Jake Paul, was it the smartest decision in the world? You can make a debate about that. Obviously, he cashed out roughly the estimations. Now, don't quote me on this. There's just rumors out there that he pulled out $92 million. Do not quote me on it. It's just rumors from online. Those numbers will probably come out later on. But what I want to say is this. Jake Paul now has a double broken jaw, and that means it will be a very long recovery for this man. He has a titanium plates. He lost a lot of teeth. They're going to have to go do implants. This is going to be something where we probably won't see Jake Paul in the ring again for, call it 8 months or so. And that is what it is. This is the risk you do when you go out there and box and do this. And once again, why I'm going to give him props for doing so. But I want to add one other aspect to this. I'm quite confused about the hate for Jake Paul. Now, don't get it twisted. Is Jake Paul a very likable guy, outside of the ring? Is he a high moral standards guy? I'm not going down those lines. Obviously, yes, that's debatable. You can make your own philosophy and your determination on who he is as a man outside of the ring. But in terms of what he's done for boxing, it's been overall good. And I'm just going to be bluntly honest about this. And I know some people will disagree with me, and that's fine. But if we remove this hate that you have for Jake Paul, and I don't know where the hate comes from. To be honest, I'm somebody that doesn't really love a lot of fighters, nor do I hate fighters. I'm very neutral with the way I view guys. That's the way I've intentionally done it. But when it comes to Jake Paul, if you remove this bias hate towards him, and you look at the actual results he's done for boxing, I can't sit up here and bash him for that. Let's look at what I'm talking about right now. A lot of people say he's bad for the sport. In what way did Jake Paul fighting Anthony Joshua hurt the sport? Was it obviously a good performance? No. Was it obviously a great fight? No. But did a lot of eyes tune into the sport of boxing that would not have tuned into the sport otherwise? Yes. That is good for the sport. Let's look at the undercard. Now, this is always my big point I like to make. But Alicia Baumgardner, Caroline Dubois, so on and so forth. These guys, Jamal Harvey, obviously a very young American prospect who I'll talk about momentarily. I like his game a lot. But these people are not going to have this big of paydays, nor are they going to have this big of a platform if it's not for Jake Paul. They're just not. He has given massive stages to endless fighters whenever he has these big fights. And I give him props for that. When you look at what he's done for women's boxing, it's phenomenal. Women's boxing has been disregarded by a lot of people. But what Jake Paul has done is he's put together this Most Valuable Promotions women's side where he's pretty much collected the Infinity Stones. Obviously, you have a couple of names not a part of the MVP promotions group, but he has given so many of these women a chance now to fight on big stages, make career high in earnings, and get the big fights they want. How can I hate a man for doing exactly that? And then on top of that, I just talked about, he brings a lot of eyes to the sport. There is a reason that Netflix wants to promote him. And all I can say is that is good for the sport of boxing. When we have a situation in boxing, now this is not, Jake Paul's fault or anybody, but when you have a sport that has essentially put all the content onto one platform, that being DAZN, no shots at DAZN. I like DAZN. Obviously, they're at least giving us something, but DAZN is not national television. It's not accessible to everybody, and a lot of the world does not know what DAZN is. You have limited the amount of eyes to watch the sport of boxing. Would I prefer it to be a situation where the best fights are getting viewed by the whole world? Absolutely. But unfortunately, Netflix and these other companies, they don't want to give the big eyes to other sports. So this is the situation we're currently in. At least more eyes are coming on the sport of boxing. Last point I want to make about Jake Paul before I go into Anthony Joshua is this. I'm a little bit baffled about certain aspects. Now, I get it. It's combat sports. I know I have a different viewpoint than others do when it comes to viewing athletes and this. I know some people hate certain guys. They want to see them get hurt, this, that, and the third. But so many people out there, I saw this on X, and I don't know if it was just trolls. I don't know if it was actual people. But what I saw on X after the fight was a lot of people still bashing Jake Paul. It was as if they were saying, you were running, you didn't take enough damage. Well, now that we know that he legitimately was hurt in this fight, he has he's a double broken jaw. It's going to be a long recovery. He was hurt pretty badly in this fight, and yet it was not enough for a lot of people. And the reason I want to say this, I want to check a lot of people on this. When we talk about boxing, these guys are entertainers. And I feel like there's a lot of people that look at Jake Paul with a very negative light. And honestly, almost an evil kind of demonic light in my honest eyes. And what I'm saying is this. He was hurt. A lot of people wanted to see Jake Paul get KO'd, get knocked out, get hurt. And it is boxing. I know why some people have those viewpoints, so I'm not going to let that be too big of an impact. But he got knocked out. He got seriously injured, and yet people were not satisfied about that. And let's be honest, what's the only thing that you could really get too much worse than what happened on Saturday night is obviously something we've seen happen in, unfortunately, tragic situations amongst boxing. Is that really where fans want? Like, do people seriously want Jake Paul literally gone? And that's the only thing I bring up to people. Because if that is the mindset that some people do have, which I saw on X, I saw on social media, that they just want Jake Paul pretty much eliminated from the earth, then that's an evil sign. And if you have that much hatred toward this man, which I don't know why, you probably need to check yourself and kind of get a reality check and realize, you know what? That level of hate is not necessary. I've got nothing against guys that want to see Jake Paul lose or those types of things. I get that. But I'm saying that next level. The people that are begging for Jake Paul to get seriously, seriously injured. Really? Like, let's be honest. He's an entertainer at the end of the day. Those people out there that are really all in on wanting Jake Paul to get seriously injured, it's disgusting. Like, let's cut it out. He's not that bad of a guy. The reasoning behind that's just absolutely ridiculous. So if you're one of those people, look yourself in the mirror. Why is that your approach? Not saying you have to like the guy, not saying you have to respect the guy or root for the guy. You can, in fact, not even like the guy and want him to lose. But this level of extremeness I'm seeing on social media, let's cut it out. At the end of the day, this is boxing. It's entertainment, and these guys are going out there and laying their lives on the line. Stop wanting Jake Paul to get hurt that badly. All right, that's where I'm going to leave it at. As for Anthony Joshua, mixed thoughts on this overall performance. If I'm looking at Anthony Joshua, was it a good performance? Absolutely not. However, as I said in the beginning of this intro to the segment, I don't think Anthony Joshua ever went into this fight with the aspect of saying, you know what, I want to make sure I have a Francis Ngannou type knockout early in the fight. That wasn't AJ's point. And I want to look at this because I know a lot of people don't like Anthony Joshua and they view him different ways. And I'll be honest, I think Anthony Joshua was very good. I think he's obviously been a world champion. He's accomplished great things. Is there, a lot of holes in Anthony Joshua's game? No doubt about it. And so let's look at the timeline. He rebuilt himself back up. Let's look back another year leading up to the Dubois fight. He fought the Otto Valle fight, the Francis Ngannou fight. He built all these fights up to get himself back in position to fight for a world championship, which he did do. But the Francis Ngannou one, that was a little bit unique, right? He had already came off the Otto Valle win that came on the December 22nd card in Riyadh's season. Then he made the whole turnaround to the Francis Ngannou fight. At that point in time, he was already built himself back up and needed the knockout right away. This is a little bit different. AJ has not fought since the Daniel Dubois knockout, which was a very bad knockout. So it was about roughly 17 or so months. When he got back in the ring here, this was a different situation. This was his very first fight back in the ring as he starts this whole process again of rebuilding himself back up. And the difference here is that he also has a brand new team. It's now the Alexander Usyk group. And when you look at this aspect, this is good for him. I've been very high on this decision because we know AJ has power. There's no questioning that. But those flaws I was just alluding to a moment ago, those are obvious. Sometimes he overcommits on punches. Sometimes he tries to go for the knockout too often. He leaves himself exposed. Sometimes his skill set lacks a little bit, and it leads to himself getting in bad situations. And we all know when AJ does get cracked, it doesn't go very well. He tends to, it's not as bad as Dubois, but at the same time, there is a sense in AJ's mind where he kind of, in a sense, gives up. And I don't want to say that word completely, but I think you know what I'm saying. He kind of just, he loses confidence, is probably the right word. And so he needs to clean up those skill sets so he doesn't put himself in those positions again. And that's why I said this fight was never something I was going to look at AJ and say one of two things. Either one, he looks absolutely horrible unless he were to lose that fight. And the second thing, I was never going to go out there and say, oh my goodness, AJ is back if he knocked out Jake Paul. All I was looking for is saying, okay, this fight does not matter. Anthony Joshua will win it, which he did. And Anthony Joshua needs to get some ring rust off him, get himself back in the ring, and get ready for that likely February or March card in Riyadh season. And so from Anthony Joshua's perspective, I don't really give him a grade outside in terms of in the ring. In terms of his life, A+. The man went out there to Miami, didn't take any damage, and made roughly about $65, $70 million. Not going to shoot the man for that one. That's a nice little payday for him. So congrats to him on that aspect, but I'm not going to judge AJ's performance. There's not much to really look at. Yes, there were some moments that were not very good, but almost look at this as if it was a glorified sparring in a certain sense for AJ. It was just cleaning up some technique, getting in the ring, and hey, collecting a nice payday. So that's all I'm going to talk about AJ. Not too significant for him there. But here's what's interesting. We have some news that came out in regards to what is next. I just talked about AJ's game plan. Jake Paul was the first step. Now he's going to go do another likely build-up, tune-up fight type of situation. February 14th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Eddie Hearn was asked for Anthony Joshua, who he could be fighting next, and the name. Obviously, a lot of people are not going to know who this name is, and there's a reason for that. But Rico Verhoeven, rumors for February 14th. Once again, all AJ needs to do right now is make sure he does not lose and get the big payday with Tyson Fury. And the reason I say this is, listen, will people, when this fight gets announced, are people going to look at it and say, what the heck? Why are we going to watch this fight? Yes. My personal opinion is that AJ should go right into the Tyson Fury fight. Turki Al-Sheikh, for some reason or another, does not want Fury and AJ doing that. He wants them both to do another fight. Not the way I would move around this situation. We've seen it fail too many times. But hey, AJ should be able to take care of this guy. Go get another fight with your belt, and then everything moves forward with the Tyson Fury fight in the summer. And I'll say this again. For the Tyson Fury fight, it's a massive payday. Great thing. Boxing fans still generally would like to see it. I know if people aren't as excited about it, you're probably still going to tune in to go watch that fight. Let's be honest, right? And on top of that, if Fury and AJ fight each other, let's be honest. Those are two guys that are still in the top 10 heavyweights. The winner of that fight puts himself in great position once again. So a lot is at stake right there. We'll see what happens as well. But here's the other quote by Eddie Hearn in regards to the fight. We've been talking about a possible fight with Turki Al-Sheikh. A couple of opponents have been mentioned. The biggest challenge is it's 8 weeks tonight. So obviously, when I say tonight, he's talking about Saturday or Friday night when the fight happened. We will sit down and talk when he will be ready to return. Rico, whoever it is, we haven't finalized that yet. The plan is to fight in the spring and then obviously fight Tyson Fury. Makes plenty of sense. If we're talking Fury and AJ, they both need to go fight bums. They need to fight guys that can easily win, get some rounds underneath the belt, and then go for the big fight. We all know that's the situation we need to be at. We can't keep wasting time. Make the fight happen. So that's what I've got. But let me know in the thoughts. What's your thoughts on the Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua thing? Obviously, it is what it is. It was a circus show, to be honest. It's what we all expected. Anyone that was expecting a good fight and then saw that and was disappointed, I don't know why you went there with that mindset. But I want to know your thoughts. What's your thoughts on Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, how the fight went down? Let me know in the comments of the chat right there. The co-main event featured the WBA, IBF, and WBO Super Featherweight Championships. Alicia Baumgardner, she defeated Layla Burden via unanimous decision, 117-110 on two of them, 118-109 on the third card right there. Alicia did her job, and I'll be honest with you guys, was the fight entertaining? No. But can I give props to her real quickly? This is somebody who demanded going 12 rounds at 3 minutes per round. Women don't really do that. And so to see her go out there, successfully go all 12 rounds, was very successful. It was a very good night at the office for her overall. She won the fight very obviously. She even got a drop in the situation of the fight. And hey, massive shout out to Layla as well. She went the same distance as well. So major props to her. And she looked like she was going to have to give up in that fight earlier on. So big props to her. I thought it was successful. I would not mind seeing women fight at that more often. But at the same time, if you were to ask me what do I prefer, I think going still 2 minutes is the best route for women's boxing. The big news is this. I'm going to kind of jump around real quickly, but Caroline Dubois, she defeated Camila Pantana. She defended her WBC lightweight championship. Clean sweep around the 99-90 on all three scorecards. The reason I just jumped over to that one is because Caroline Dubois came out and said this. She has now challenged the unified super featherweight champion Alicia Baumgardner to a bout, and Dubois is willing to fight 12 3-minute rounds. So this would be a massive fight. Alicia said after the fight that she's going to sit down with Most Valuable Promotions, get a negotiation down, and potentially it's going to be a main event type situation, a big fight. Well, Dubois, but Alicia Baumgardner, that is that big fight we're looking about and talking about. Don't be shocked to see that happen in 2026. So both obviously with Most Valuable Promotions should be an easy fight to make happen. That's what I do expect to see, and I think that would actually be a very fun fight as well. I'm going to go to the chat real quickly. Let's get into that before I talk about the rest of this card. I'm going to jump over this real quickly. I'm going to pull it up on the screen 1 second. Rico the Glory Kickboxing, man. Okay, I think Makhmudov would be a better fight since he is a very one-dimensional fighter and at least top 20 heavyweight. I like that point. Nothing against, as I said. When we talk about Rico, I mean... It's not a good fight. Obviously, once again, it's not going to be entertaining. I think the biggest thing is this, though, and I'll be honest, would I prefer this fight? Yes. Would I prefer a lot of fights over the Rico fight? Absolutely. I don't want to see the Rico fight per se. But I think the point that Turki Al-Sheikh is trying to look at right now is maybe he's learning that let's not give guys anybody that could possibly make something happen to stop the fight from happening. And when I say the fight, I'm saying, the one we all want, Fury AJ. We've seen it happen with the Wilder and AJ situation already, when Wilder obviously went and stunk the bed against Joseph Parker, right? We've seen these things happen. We saw earlier this year with the Plant and Charlo situation. We've seen this happen obviously Ryan Garcia, Raleigh Romero, and Devin Haney situation, right? This has happened too many times. And I think hopefully Turkey's kind of learning and saying, okay, for some reason this man's so big on trying to make these, fight before the fights happen, that hopefully his mindset's saying, you know what, let's just do something where these guys, there's no way in the world they ever lose these fights. Make sure we secure the bag for the main fight. And that's kind of the approach I think Turkey's making here. Now, obviously, I can't speak for Turkey right now, but that's my point and what I think he's probably seeing right now. And if he is, that's fine with me. But let's be honest, this is going to be a simple fight. I would prefer to see as you said, I would love to see the Makhmudov fight. That would be a good one as well. I'm going to pull this one up as well right now. I think Joshua versus Makhmudov and Fury versus Vianelli, the Italian heavyweight, easy matchup. They don't want to mess up the Joshua Fury fight. Exactly that's what I'm saying right now. As I said, if we're talking matchmaking and, both those guys should win those fights, right? Should AJ beat Makhmudov? Absolutely. Should Fury be able to beat Gio? Obviously, be able to beat Vanillo, sorry. Yes, but we've seen it happen too many times. Joseph Parker's obviously a great fighter, but did anybody expect Deontay Wilder to lose to Parker that night? Not really, right? Same thing happened to Raleigh Romero and Ryan Garcia. Nobody thought Ryan Garcia was going to lose to Raleigh. It happened. Nobody thought that, obviously, Caleb Plant was going to upset to Resendez. It happened. And so I think we're just going to persevere everything to make sure this fight happens, and I'm fine with that. I would be fine of us just going straight to the big fight, but if Turkey wants to make these fight before the fights happen, so be it, and let's see what happens there. But yes, both those fights would be very intriguing, and I'll be interested to see what Fury wants to do, because Fury hasn't necessarily suggested any rumors yet of who is fighting. We just found out last week that the fight between him and AJ might happen, so I'm interested to see what happens right there, but who knows? Obviously, we'll see what happens in the future, but that's what we got in store for this current moment. All right, let's get right back into what happened this past weekend. Gonna get the comment off real quickly. All right. I don't know why the comment's not coming off, but anyways, we'll get back into that momentarily. There it goes. All right, so other ones that went down. Now, this isn't really for big boxing fans, but I will admit it was a very fun fight for as long as it lasted. Anderson Silva, Tyron Woodley, second round KO by Anderson Silva. From a boxing perspective, I'm not really going to dive too deep into this, but I'd be lying if I say I was not entertained. A 50-year-old man, second round knockout, defeated Tyron Woodley. Both guys are UFC stars, so I do watch the UFC as well. Not as much as I do boxing, but I still like the UFC. And obviously, Anderson Silva did his job. Was a very impressive knockout. Tyron Woodley, he got butt whooped in that fight. So very fun, interesting fight to see right there. None of these two guys are going to be competitive boxers, but I could see them do these more, fight these other guys in this celebrity type of crossover stuff. So we'll see what happens there. Let's go to the other guy. I talked about him a little bit ago, but Jamal Harvey. He defeated Kevin Castavegas via unanimous decision, 60-53 on all three scorecards. I like Jamal Harvey. Now, it's 2 fights into his career. I'm not going to sit up here and say, this is the future of American boxing, anything along those lines. Absolutely not. But from a prospect perspective, I was very intrigued with him with USA Boxing. Obviously, it did not go according to plan in the Olympics, but I thought his first 2 performances have been solid in boxing, and now he's been a pro. Lots of stuff he needs to improve on. Still needs to fine-tune many, many things, but I was actually very much so impressed with Harvey. I think he's a good fighter. And also, if you guys have not checked out my interview with him yet, you guys can learn about his story, his background. It's all my YouTube channel. Just go to the search button in my YouTube channel and type in his name. You'll be able to find that interview right there. Also, SchuZ Show interview. It's a playlist I have created. Go check it out there. You can go check out his interview and all my other boxing interviews I've done as well. Then we go into the prelims real quick. Just going to kind of run through these ones. Janika Johnson defeated Amanda Gallevi in unanimous decision. Already talked about Caroline Dubois. Then WBC minimum weight championship. Yokosali Valle defeated Yadira Bustillos via unanimous decision. And then welterweight fight went down. Avius Griffin, he defeated Justin Cordova via first round KO. Almost happened right on the buzzer. It was about right on the bell. Sorry, it happened literally. I think it was about 3 or 4 seconds before the first round concluded, and it was good for him. Obviously, Avius Griffin was this highly, a top 15 ranked guy. MVP signed him, and things did not go according to plan when he obviously got knocked out earlier this year. So good to see him back in the mix there. But obviously, first round KO, not against a good opponent though. I want to go into another aspect now. And actually, before I go into that, if you guys have any more thoughts on the Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua undercard, leave it in the chat. I'll make sure to break that down. But I mentioned that there were a lot of other fights that went down around the world. I'm going to kick it off with the boxer card, as this one was shocking to me. But let's get right to this one. Troy Williamson, Callum Simpson, they went and fought this past weekend. And Callum Simpson was this guy that was ranked in the top 10, I think, on 2 of the ranking bodies, maybe even 3. And obviously, it's not going to be the case any longer. But Callum Simpson, he got knocked out by Troy Williamson. And I mean knocked out. This was a brutal, brutal fight. 10th round. Troy Williamson ended up winning the European, British, and Commonwealth super middleweight titles. I was shocked by this performance. Now, as I said, we were talking last week about 168. Bud retiring, all the belts move up. Callum Simpson had his name firmly in the mix there as guys that were going to be competitive or at least challenged for these belts. Not anymore. Callum Simpson's hype is now done for the time being. Now, he could rebuild himself, but I don't think it's that rebuilding process should happen at 168. It's time for Callum Simpson to move to 175. I like him. He's a good kid, good guy, but Callum Simpson does not look good at 168, and it's very obvious. I have not been always very impressed with his performances inside the ring, and I think it caught up to him on this past weekend because Troy Williamson is not a man who I think anybody in the world ever expected to go out there and even be competitive with Callum Simpson. It was not supposed to be a competitive fight, and yet he was getting his butt whooped. I mean, we're going to get to the point where he got knocked out in round 10, but if you were watching that fight, Callum Simpson should have had his corner should have pulled him from the fight, or at least the referee should have pulled him from that fight much earlier. The fact that they allowed Callum Simpson to even get to the point where he got knocked out was a failure on the part of his corner and the referee. No reason he should have been in that position. Troy Williamson put a beating on this man, and I was shocked. I mean, honestly, hats off to Troy Williamson. I'm not going to call it the upset of the year. I think Resendez will have that one in the bag. But when we talk about upsets, Troy Williamson, I don't think anybody saw this fight coming or this win coming for him, especially in the dominant form in which he did so in. So hats off to Troy Williamson. This man just changed his life with his performance here. And Callum Simpson, he's going to have to rebuild himself back up, but I don't think it's going to be too difficult. If you are Callum Simpson, I just talked about, there's already been questions about him staying at 168. I think it's time now with this loss is just, pack it up at 168. Let's move on to 175. See what you got going for yourself right there. And obviously, you probably would like to be in the mix of these 168 guys, but that window's probably closed. That was a brutal fight. He's going to be out for quite some time. He's going to rebuild himself back up. But let me touch up on one other aspect. Boxer is going to be in a bad, bad place. Listen, when we talk about Boxer, they're on life support right now. This is a 1-year deal with BBC. 1-year deal. And when you talk about this, they have a very limited amount of stars. They've lost Vidal Riley. They've lost Ben Whitaker. They have lost a lot of guys. They kept Adam Azim. Congratulations there. But Fraser Clark was one of your big name guys. He lost to Jamie TKV in the debut of BBC. Now you transfer over into this fight. Callum Simpson was one of your top ranked guys. He's now been taken out. If you're looking at Boxer and Ben Shalom right now, there's a lot of eyes being pointed at you right now because who are you going to put out there? You better hope to God that Adam Azim, who I'll be talking about his announced fight very soon, you better hope this man doesn't get knocked out and better keep winning. And I think he will. He'll be just fine. But Boxer's on life support right now. Keep an eye on them because I don't know what Boxer's going to do. I don't know what Ben Shalom's going to do. But there's serious problems right now going on with Boxer. But as I said, hats off to Troy Williamson. One heck of a performance. If you guys want to go out there and watch a beatdown, look it up. Troy Williamson, Callum Simpson. What a performance by Troy Williamson. Heading over to Africa now, 2 fight cards went down in Africa. I'm going to start with the Ghana fight card and a couple prospects. Nishant Dev, he returned to the ring and he defeated his opponent via 4th round KO. Go check out my interview with him. Obviously, you guys can hear back his backstory. Great guy right there. Great prospect for Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. Then Leo Tang, he defeated Babu Yusufu via round 1 TKO. I'm going to pause here for a second. Leo Tang is someone to keep an eye on. All right. Now, he's a heavyweight. 18 years of age, will be turning 19 next year. Don't expect this man to go fight, anywhere competitive fights for the next 2 or so years. He's a long way out. But I look at what I watched in the ring on Saturday. I like it. This is a very raw prospect. He's got a lot of working to do, a lot of fine tuning. I'm saying this man's still been another 18, 24 months out from being competitive. But the potential is there for him to be a legitimate threat at heavyweight. And I'm just going to throw it out there. I think, and this is a bold take, but there's a chance that if he reaches his potential, the new big UK heavyweight matchup to make in the future will be Mosi Toma and Leo Tang. There's a very good chance that comes to fruition one day. It's a little ways out. Mosi Toma, I think, is the better fighter. He's more skilled. Obviously, he's got some ears on him as well. But Leo Tang is someone to keep an eye on. I like what I've seen from him this year. He's someone that I really do like and I'm intrigued in. So next year is going to be interesting. Keep watching this man. A good heavyweight prospect to watch. Then, the main event, Craig Richards, he defeated Dan Azeez by KO in round 12. Craig Richards, obviously, he's a solid fighter, ranked in the top 15 on one of the commissioning bodies. Dan Azeez has had a good career. Craig Richards, I expect him to win. That's my prediction. Here's what I see with this fight. Craig Richards likely just got himself a nice payday. Who do I think he's going to fight? Well, listen to this possible fight right now. I think Craig Richards and Ben Whitaker is the fight we're going to see next. I'm not positive on this, but there's a matchroom connection there, UK-British ties, and I would not be shocked. Obviously, Craig Richards is a top 15 opponent. I think if we're going to be honest and put our matchmaking minds together right now, Ben Whitaker, Craig Richards could be the fight we see happening in 2026. So keep your eye on that one. That's what I do see happening there. Then we're going to go over to Nigeria. The co-main event was Tony Yoka. He knocked out Patrick Corte via round 1 to improve to 15-3 as a professional. Good for him. We're going to talk about the main event, though, primarily right now, and that was Lawrence Okolie, Ebenezer Tetteh. Okay. This was a very bad performance by Lawrence Okolie. Very, very bad. Yes, and I know it's shocking. He came out and got a stoppage win and only took care of business in 3 rounds. How is this bad? Okay, I can't show the clip, and I hate that I can't show it to you guys because of obviously copyright rules. If you guys want to go to my X page, I have the clip posted. You might have to scroll a little bit, or just look it up, Lawrence Okolie and Tetteh. What in the world was Lawrence Okolie doing in this fight? Yeah, I'm going to try breaking this down to you guys in the best, trying to give you guys a picture here. Lawrence Okolie is a man who is ranked quite high in the heavyweight rankings. I think he's a solid heavyweight. He's not going to be a world champion, but he's a solid contender, if you will. Ebenezer Tetteh is a man who has fought some decent opponents. He's not good. He's well past his prime. He's old. He was out of shape. And there's a situation you have going on. Second round, okay? And the ref separates them two. Tetteh's already been taking a couple of nasty shots. Tetteh is literally laying against the ropes. I don't know what's going on. It's the middle of the fight. Tetteh is just sitting there against the ropes, and he just looks dazed. You would think that any other fighter in the world would say, okay, it's my time to kill my opponent, and let's get him out of here. That's what every other guy would do, especially at the heavyweight division. Lawrence Okolie just stands there and barely touches him up. And I know it sounds so bizarre, so why I say, if you have not seen the clip yet, my X page has it. Go to Zach Shoemaker on Twitter and X, whatever you want to call it. It's on there. Also, you can just look it up online. I don't know what was going on in this fight. And that's why I say for Lawrence Okolie, it's just baffling to me. This is a man who is skilled. I'm not going to take away from the man. He is skilled. He has got talent. He's got a decent chin. Like, there is something there with Lawrence Okolie. But my biggest thing that I keep witnessing with this man is his mentality. I don't think he has that killer mentality. And to be in any combat sport without that killer mentality, that's a problem, especially at the heavyweight division. Now, we haven't seen Lawrence Okolie fight anybody legitimate yet. We saw the Kevin Lorena fight last. We saw this fight now. This isn't a man that I look at and say, okay, we've seen him fight great guys. But this time is going to come. It likely will happen in 2026. Itoma is the rumored fight. If this man doesn't have a killer mentality, he is going to get knocked out badly. Because what I witnessed over there in this weekend, it was just a nice little fun fight, going to Nigeria and putting on a show. He should have knocked Tetteh out of there in round 1 or 2. And Tetteh just decided to give up on the fight and not come out of his corner after the 3rd round. But as I said, the sequence that I witnessed was just baffling to myself. I haven't seen something that just stupid in a fight that lackadaisical is probably the proper word in a very long time. So I don't know what I witnessed. That's why I'm encouraging you guys, go look at the clip. You guys, if you guys have not seen it, you will laugh at it. I don't know what happened. The man was literally laying against the ropes like this, and Okolie just looking at him, barely jabbing, touching the man up. I don't know what happened. So Lawrence Okolie, he's got skill. But his heart, I don't know where it's at right now. I don't know if he wants boxing all the way. And if he has this big fight coming up for himself next year with Mosey Itoma, which is the rumored fight, yeah, he's going to have to figure something out. Because Itoma could hurt him badly, as could pretty much any of those top 10 heavyweights. So, as I said, he's got skill. But I don't know if it's right here. And if it's not right here, Lawrence Okolie is going to be in for a big, big problem. So, I was not impressed at all with Lawrence Okolie. A very bad performance in Nigeria for himself. But hey, he got the win. And we'll see what happens when he faces Mosey Itoma most likely in 2026. Let me know over the weekend, though. What was the most impressive performance you saw the weekend? My answer to that would be Troy Williamson upsetting Callum Simpson. I thought that was one of the most shocking performances, maybe even of the year. Just the beatdown I saw on Callum Simpson was phenomenal. But let me know, who was the best performance of the weekend that you guys watched this past? And what's your thoughts? Any agreements, disagreements? Let me know in the chat. Your comment will come up on the screen. And if you're tuning in on YouTube, make sure to smash that likes button. Also, keep the chat active. And also, there's a new hype button. If you want to click that hype button for me, I greatly appreciate that as well. All right, let's transition into some boxing news now. Because, as I said, this is a tough week with the holiday season, with Christmas and everything coming up this week. I will give you guys a live show on Friday, and it's going to be a little bit late, though, but for a fight preview of the big fight card going down in Japan. Most typical weekends, I'd be giving a lot more, previews for the fight leading up to it. But it is what it is. The point is this. This weekend, on Saturday, Inoue, Nakatani, Taraji, and others will be taking place in a massive fight going down in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And I'll be honest with you guys. Now, I know you guys are not always the big fan of the lower weight classes and all that stuff, but boy, do I love Japanese boxing. It is some of the most fun, entertaining boxing to watch. And when you have, Japanese versus Mexican style fighters going down this weekend on this card, I honestly think from an entertainment standpoint, we could be in for the most entertaining fight card of the year. Just going to put it out there. I know it's a big, bold claim to make. It's going to be a great card. So that will be preview for you guys on Friday's show. But what I do want to talk about is this. It has now been announced. Now, once again, both guys must win their fights. But if Inoue defeats Pascasio, if Junto defeats his opponent, both guys win. Expect to face off in the ring after the fight. Why? Naoya Inoue, Junto Nakatani mega fight is reportedly set for May 3rd in Tokyo, Japan. All odds and signs point to this fight going down at the Tokyo Dome. And let me just say this. Talking about a true best fight to make in boxing, it is hard to imagine too many fights being better than Inoue Nakatani. I've been very bold about this. Now, we'll see. Both guys must win their fights on Saturday, and I'm excited to see what Nakatani looks like at 122. How did he grow into the weight? I think he's going to be just fine, but how did it look? And we'll see what happens. But this fight is going to be huge for the sport of boxing. And I mean huge. I know it might not do massive numbers around the world simply because it's lower weight classes. The time's going to be a little bit off. All the different things in Japan. But from a boxing fan standpoint, we are talking about two top 10 pound-for-pound fighters, incredible athletes. And on top of that, you know for a fact this will be one of the most entertaining fights to watch as well this weekend, or of the year next year. Both guys are absolute warriors. So this is a fight that I'm going to have circled on my calendar, May 3rd, Tokyo, at the Tokyo Dome. It will be phenomenal. Hopefully, both guys win this weekend, and we do get that fight in 2026. All right. It actually happened, folks. I said it last week. I don't want to see this fight happen. It's probably going to happen. The WBO has now officially ordered Hamzah Sheeraz versus Diego Pacheco for the vacant WBO super middleweight world title after Terrence Crawford retired from boxing. All right. If Hamzah Sheeraz and Diego Pacheco fight each other, this is going to be a very one-sided fight for Hamzah Sheeraz. This is not a fight that I want to see. Now, for Diego Pacheco, he has potential. He's got a future. But if we're talking about these two guys fighting in 2026, in the next fight, it's not going to go well for Diego Pacheco. This is a man who has struggled 3 consecutive fights in 2025. None of which were impressive wins, all of which had ups and downs. If we're talking about this man now stepping up to go fight from a Trevor McCumbee, Steven Nelson, and obviously going through all these different situations right now, and now positioning himself to fight Hamzah Sheeraz, who I think a lot of people out there would say is possibly number 1 or 2 man right now, maybe even 3, at 168, that's too big of a jump for Diego Pacheco. This is not a fight that I really want to see, and if it does happen, it's going to be a rough night at the office for Diego Pacheco. Listen, I like Hamzah Sheeraz. This is a man who had a rough outing at 160 in his final fight against Carlos Adames. Obviously, he hurt the hand, but at 168, he seems to look real good. He put a beating on Berlanga earlier this year, and I think if we see Hamzah Sheeraz versus Pacheco, well, you might as well just go out there and claim Hamzah Sheeraz is the world champion right now. This is a world championship belt that I think Hamzah Sheeraz will possess if this fight happens. I think Hamzah Sheeraz put the beating on Diego Pacheco, and I could very well be wrong, and I would gladly admit that if I am wrong, but Hamzah Sheeraz is going to go out there and put a beating on Pacheco. I think this fight card will happen on a Riyadh season card because of the Hamzah Sheeraz ties, but Hamzah Sheeraz, Diego Pacheco has now been officially ordered, and if it does end up happening, Hamzah Sheeraz is the better fighter. He's got the advantage on pretty much every single aspect of the boxing ability, his body, everything. Hamzah Sheeraz should put a beat down on Diego Pacheco. But let me know in the comment section, who would you have winning that fight between Hamzah Sheeraz and Diego Pacheco if it does go down in 2026? We have some Tank Davis news. Now, this is interesting, and I'm actually going to grab some water real quick before we jump into this topic, but all right. So, I'm just going to be honest about this. I've been very clear and very vocal about Tank Davis, right? And I've gotten to this place where when it comes to Gervonta Tank Davis, we just have to embrace and, deal with whatever happens throughout the remainder of his career. I can be honest with you guys. I don't know what's going on with this man. I don't. But that's part of the Gervonta Tank Davis game. We don't know what's going to be happening with this man. We don't know what he's going to do outside of the ring. This is a man who's been in trouble with the law endless times. Is it ever going to stop? I don't know. He's rumored retirement, but yet he keeps coming back to fight. He keeps acting as if he wants these big fights, and then he doesn't take the big fights. He wants the rematches, and then he doesn't want the rematches. He talks a big talk, and then sometimes he goes quiet. It's this game with Gervonta Tank Davis that, to be quite frankly honest, you and I just don't understand. There's no way to put an understanding to him, and so all I can say is this. We must go with the flow. Is it good for boxing? Absolutely not. Now, when he has a decent fight, and could he be good for boxing? Sure, but it's not good for boxing. But we can't remove him from the sport of boxing. And so if he's going to come back and fight in 2026 and he has his legal problems taken care of, guess what? As I do with every single fight, I will evaluate the fight as a fight. And I will talk about the fight when it comes time, and I will watch the fight, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts on the fight. So I'm not going to do anything different with Gervonta Tank Davis now. No, I don't get what he's doing. No, I don't understand the man, but here's where we are at. There's been rumors that he's considering 3 opponents now. Now, remember this. I just realized my camera's off. 1 second. I should have the camera line back up right now. There we go. So, Gervonta Tank Davis has announced, unintentionally, I think it's kind of more so being leaked, I should say. He hasn't announced it straight up. 3 opponents now. He said that there's going to be 3 guys he's looking at fighting. Those 3 guys have essentially now been leaked out. The 3 guys Tank Davis is looking at fighting in his return is Isaac Pitbull Cruz, a Lamont Roach rematch, and O'Shaquie Foster. If I look at all 3 of those fights, the fight I want to see most is Lamont Roach. Listen, Lamont Roach is deserving of that rematch. He deserves it. I wanted to see Lamont Roach fight Gervonta Tank Davis earlier this year. It was supposed to happen in August, September time. And then Tank Davis, ducks him. That fight must happen. For Pitbull Cruz, Tank Davis obviously won the first fight. Not going to be competitive there. That is what it is. But I wouldn't mind that fight. And O'Shaquie Foster, same thing. I like O'Shaquie Foster. I would love for him to get a big payday like that. It would be an intriguing fight. O'Shaquie Foster has a lot of skill set, maybe even is challenging and maybe pulls off the upside on Tank Davis. But what I really want to witness is Lamont Roach and Tank Davis. If Lamont Roach is legitimately an option for Tank Davis, that is the fight I want to see. Tank Davis should, as a man, Tank Davis should want to go out there and fight Lamont Roach. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. This is a performance where you had a draw. I think every time you have a draw in boxing, at least 9 times out of 10, the fighter should want that rematch. You should want your get back. Ending in a tie of any sort sucks. You don't want that. And so if you're Tank Davis, you should be looking at Lamont Roach and saying, you know what? I want my get back. And you don't just want the get back because of the draw. You probably want the get back as well because a lot of people, myself included, believe that Tank Davis lost that fight. And so if you are Tank Davis and you are the more skilled fighter, the better fighter, and the man has the knockout power, you should be looking at yourself right now and say, you know what? I want that get back. And I know boxing is a business, and financially speaking, Lamont Roach is going to pay you just fine. You know that. Both guys are going to get a nice payday. So if we're looking at the fight that Tank Davis wants, and the fight he should return to, the fight that should have happened all the way back in mid this year, is Lamont Roach and Tank Davis. If we're talking about Tank Davis and his top 3 options right now, being O'Shaquie Foster, Lamont Roach, and Isaac Pitbull Cruz, Tank Davis has a very easy decision to make right now. He needs to go out there and choose Lamont Roach. Get that fight booked, line it up, and get that rematch in 2026. If you're Tank Davis, the way you can shut up a lot of people right now is by going out there, taking care of business, and taking care of Lamont Roach. If you want to get yourself back and redeem yourself for all the outside of boxing stuff that you've been getting yourself involved in, all the ducking, all the issues you've been having, that's how you do it. You go out there and you take care of Lamont Roach, and you show everybody, guess what? I'm still that guy. That was a rough night when we went back there, but I'm still that man. I'm going to go back out there and prove myself. So if you're Tank Davis, that's the fight to make. That's the one I want to see. That's the fight I think a lot of boxing fans want to see. And if you're Tank Davis, it's time to go out there and book the fight. Lamont Roach, Tank Davis, 2026, make the fight happen. Let me know in the chat though. Would you guys prefer to see Tank Davis fight Lamont Roach, Pitbull Cruz, or O'Shaquie Foster next? Let me know what you guys think on that one. Richardson Hitchins, he was on a show and he was talking about what fight he wants next. He says he wants to give Frank Main a shot at the title. Frank Martin, I saw at the time, my apologies. Here's what he said. He is not on my level, and he said he would stop me. But I think he is talking out of his something, and I would stop him. Hopefully, we can make it happen. All right, so Hitchins is rumored to have a fight locked in with Jermaine Ortiz on the January 31st TO and Shakur card. Great. Nothing wrong with that fight. But Frank Martin and Richardson Hitchins is the fight I want to see. And I think it's a realistic fight to make as well. Frank Martin, he gets one more fight underneath his belt. He's more than deserving of a world championship shot at that point in time. And when we're talking about, deserving and being able to make money on the business side of things, I think Frank Martin versus Hitchins is a great fight. I think American fans can get behind that fight. I think it would be a great opportunity for both guys. I think stylistically, we're talking about an interesting fight right there as well. And so if I'm looking at these situations, and if Frank Martin can go out there and get one more W, and Hitchins gets his win against Jermaine Ortiz, defends his belt successfully, I would love to see Frank Martin and Richardson Hitchins fight each other. That's a fight I want to see. I think both guys are very solid fighters. Both guys are guys that would have a big draw in America, and they would be a good fight that could potentially headline an event. But at the bare minimum, I like to see these two guys be on the co-main event, undercard maybe of a Riyadh season, ring card. I would like to see this fight happen. So Hitchins bringing this up. I love the idea. Let's get Hitchins versus Frank Martin in 2026. We talked about Ben Shalom and Boxer a little bit earlier. Here we go. Ben Shalom has revealed his plans for 2026. His next Boxer on BBC card will feature Adam Azim, taking place on January 31st. He will be facing Gustavo Lemos in a super lightweight clash on January 31st in London. All right. Adam Azim is going to win that fight. Not competitive. When Ben Shalom was saying he's going to fight somebody that's a legitimate contender, a top 15 type talent, this is not that. We don't really want this fight, but it is what it is. I think we all know what's going to happen, and Adam Zim gets to get a nice little win. Good for him. And then his second one, Lauren Price in Cardiff. That's the second one. And then Jamie TKV will be returning in March. So, there's the outline. That's what Ben Shalom is working on right now for Boxer. Not a bright future. Some solid fighters, but he's on life support and he needs to figure things out ASAP. All right. Couple more things before I let you go. Now, before I do wrap it up, if you guys have any more chat topics or questions or whatever it is, leave it in the chat. Your comment will come up on the screen and we'll be breaking down those thoughts as we go throughout the remainder of the show. Let's head into this one, though. Shakur Stevenson says he is only fighting Keyshawn Davis for $500 million. His exact quote, "Why am I fighting my brother, someone that I love, when that can something up our relationship? I'm competitive as blank, and I'm not letting no one beat me. I don't care who it is." Okay, when he says that quote right there, essentially what he's saying is I'm not fighting Keyshawn Davis. Now, I get it. We are in a combat sport. And there's always this topic, whether it's in UFC or in MMA or if it's in boxing or whatever it might be. Should you fight your brother? Should you fight your friend? And I go back and forth on this one. I'll be honest, as somebody that looks at it from a moral standpoint, and I do recognize that, at the end of the day, boxing is entertainment. It's a sport. Life is bigger than that. I understand where they take these opinions on. But I also see a lot of guys that fight each other and then become friends afterwards. So I do question it. Now, you have to question, where are you in terms of your relationship? Would it make sense, and how would a type of fight with Keyshawn and Shakur even go? Would both guys even really want to fight each other in that fight? I don't know how that fight would go. So here's what I'm going to say. My stance on this is this. You can't be friends with everybody. But if you have a small, tight-knit group, as Shakur does have, where it's maybe one or two different guys, then I see them not wanting to fight each other. Now, I will throw a curveball here because I have heard this before. Let's throw a hypothetical out there. Let's say they're in a position where both guys have unified the belts. You have a potential undisputed fight, and that fight does become a $100 million type of fight. Do you consider it there? I don't know. We've seen these things go sideways before, but at the same time, you get your brother paid a lot of money. You get paid a lot of money. Do you consider that? I don't know the take. My personal stance would be I would not do it because obviously I think I value relationships more so than money in the sport. But we'll see. I think each guy's up to their own personal opinion. I don't fault Shakur for doing this, though. It is what it is. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Last topic I want to get into. Undefeated middleweight contender Troy Isley, 15-0 with 5 KOs, is officially a free agent. Over 4 years with Top Rank Boxing has now come to a conclusion. He is now moving on from Top Rank Boxing. All right, here's what I'm going to say on this one. Good move. Top Rank is confusing to me. Now, they have kept the guys active, but I'm going to go back on Top Rank one last time for the end of this year. When we talk about Top Rank boxing, there was a report that came out back in July. It said that we're not going to have a fight card in August. And I said, okay. I was on the show. You guys can go look at the show back at that point in time. They announced it. I said, you know what? It's not a big deal. You can take a month off. No one's going to fault you for taking 1 month off. But Top Rank, you said August. August. The quote was August. I look back at it. September, October, November, December. What are we doing right now? We're 5 months without a TV deal. And we're heading into the new year, and there's still no rumors. Now, I've heard that they're going to have a plan in place. But is it really this hard to get a TV deal knocked out? When on top of it, you probably should have had a TV deal being negotiated behind the scenes when your ESPN deal is about to expire. So Top Rank has been a fool of themselves, and they've lost a couple of guys now. Vito Melnicki, he's moving over to the Zuffa Boxing. Now you have Troy Isley. These are guys that are top 15 ranked prospects, both guys that are young, and they're moving on from Top Rank Boxing. Not good for them. Now, for Troy Isley, this is a man who's ranked in the top 5 by Ring Magazine. And I know it's not saying too much. Middleweight sucks. Brutal. Worst weight class in all boxing. But this is a free agent now ranked in the top 5 at middleweight. And I get it. Troy Isley's not the most entertaining man in the world. A lot of people are very skeptical on his ability. But if I'm looking at Troy Isley right now, this is a great opportunity for himself to go find a new deal. I don't think the partnership with Top Rank was working very well. I was never high on the performances or the matchups and the way they were moving him either. But we'll see where he goes now. Does he possibly go over to Zuffa Boxing as well? It would not shock me. Does he go with a PBC? I don't really see that fit right there, but possibly. Or does he just move himself as a free agent for the time being? Whatever it is, I'm intrigued to see this one because I think Troy Isley is a solid fighter. He's technically sound, does not possess a lot of power, really no power. Obviously, only 5 KOs in 15 fights. But I like Troy Isley. I think this is a good reset for himself. And, he's been live in 2026. He's not been happy. So get him the right fight, get him the right situation, and hopefully we'll see him get moving again. He's obviously, like I said, top 5 middleweight. We'll see how it looks now. So that's what I've got for you guys on today's show. I don't see any more comments in the chat. Let me go over and check one more time. Yep, that should be it. So that being said, this week and the rest of the year is going to be a little bit off. I will be back live on Friday to give you guys a fight preview of the Japanese fight card, as well as, boxing news and all that stuff as well. Hopefully you guys have a blessed Merry Christmas as well. Enjoy the holiday season. And then on Friday, I'll see you guys back live at that point in time. I will clarify for you guys on Friday show as to what the next week looks like, because on my channel and my content and life, all this stuff, I'm having lots of changes go into the new year. So I'll be announcing all of that right before I launch everything the first week of the new year, first full week of the new year. There still is going to be boxing shows. Don't worry about that. I'll be active on that aspect. But in terms of the schedule, new times, outline, everything along those lines, it's going to be changing a lot. So stay tuned for that one. I'll be announcing that in the near future. But I will be back live on Friday. Enjoy your guys' Christmas. Have a great time with your family. Enjoy the week as well. I'll see you guys back live on Friday, and we'll get into a great boxing preview. So God bless you guys all. Have a great rest of you guys Monday. If you guys are listening in on Tuesday, enjoy your Tuesday as well. I'll see you guys back live on Friday. May God bless you guys all. And with that being said, SchuZ out. God bless y'all.